economics, it is a little extension of what we did in the O levels, right? But basically the most of the concepts are the same, right? So what is money? What are its functions? What are its characteristics? So we'll talk about all of that as part of our syllabus, right? Now let's first discuss the definition of money, right? So students, can you tell me the definition of money, right? What according to you constitutes money in the modern economy? What do you think, right? So every day we use the word money, cash. What do we mean by that? Yeah. Okay. So if I have to give you a simple definition so that you can, get started with that. So money would be defined as any commodity that is used, any commodity that is used as a medium of exchange, right? Or verifiable record that is generally acceptable as a payment for goods and services. Excellent, right? Any commodity or an instrument, that's a very detailed definition. Thank you, Zohan. Any commodity or instrument that is used to buy goods and services, or you can simply say as a medium exchange, right? Instrument used as medium exchange, right? Just a second. Used as medium of exchange and to settle financial obligations, right? Now, what are financial obligations? Financial obligations is anything that you owe to someone, basically your liabilities, and to settle financial obligations. Okay, right, just a second. Settle financial, right, today my writing board is, and to settle financial obligations. Okay, now you can obviously come up with slightly different definitions as well, but whichever of these you find most easy to remember, you can continue with that, as long as the idea is staying the same. Money is anything which is generally acceptable as a means of payment for goods and services and for settling of debts. Very good, excellent, right? So as I said, so your definitions can be a little different from each other, but as long as the main idea is staying the same, you are good, right? So any commodity or instrument, right? So commodity is basically a product. Instrument, what we say basically is a check, right? So check is also an example of money because that is used nowadays in the form of not only checks, in fact, also debit and credit cards, right? So these are some instruments that humans have developed over time through which we can make our payments and can settle our financial obligations or debt or whatever, right? And as far as the commodity is concerned, you can think of that as to be cash, right? Cash, currency, notes, coins, and so on. Okay, now we'll dive deeper into the different forms of money that we use nowadays, right? But to start off with, we just needed a definition for that, right? So any commodity or instrument used as a mean exchange and to settle financial obligation, or you can simply say debt. Okay, now think about this, students. The modern money that we use nowadays, it was not always there in the world, right? In fact, it was after a couple of centuries that humans realized that perhaps this modern form of money that we're using nowadays would be the most effective way to make transactions. Before that, right? So Zohan, for crypto, think about this. For the crypto to for that to be defined as money in the mainstream area, it has to be acceptable everywhere, right? So if you remember, in some books, you will see money is something that is generally accepted as a medium of payment. Are you getting me? So think about this. Technically, you can even buy something by giving away your phone, right? So sometimes what people do, they exchange things with each other, right? So I don't know, have you ever done this with your friends or family members, right? So give your old phone, you take a new phone from them, right? So same is the problem with that, but we will never call phone to be a money, right? Because that's not generally acceptable. Not everyone will accept phone as a medium of payment. And same is the problem with the crypto right now. It few years down the lane, yeah, it may be, but right now it's not generally acceptable. Great, perfect. Okay, now think about this. This being said, so we'll talk about history of money, right? So how do humans discover this modern form of money that we use nowadays? Okay, now in the very earliest civilizations, right, we know that people used to do barter, right? People used to engage in barter trade, right? Now, what is barter? Barter is when you exchange goods and services for other goods and services. No, again, same problem, right? So think about it. I got your question. So Zohan, what you are basically confusing with, let me explain you, and that will help you better understand this concept, right? So something is known as an asset, right? Right? Financial asset, or you can say just an asset, right? And then you have something known as money, right? So money, for something to be defined as money, it has to be generally and commonly accepted as a medium of payment, right? Now, listen to this carefully. For something to be defined as money, it has to be generally accepted as a medium of payment, whereas financial asset has some value. So you can always convert an asset into money. So what are shares? Shares are basically a valuable. They are financial asset. They have a value of their own, right? Now they are also quite liquid, and perhaps that is confusing you that it's money. Obviously shares are quite liquid. You can just, one click and you will sell your shares, and then you can bring, or transfer the money in your bank account, and then you can use your money, right? But it is, do you guys understand what liquidity is? Liquid, if I say that this asset is liquid, what do I mean, right? Now let me give you some examples, and you will better able to understand that what I mean when I say liquid, right? So let's see, right? Because you have taken the conversation to that, right? So it's important that you understand this. Okay, now think about this. How easily ready to use is a little incomplete definition. So liquidity or liquid means how easily can an asset be converted into cash. Liquidity means how easily an asset can be converted into cash. Are you following me? Right? Now, out of these assets, students, can you tell me which of these, let me number this. Out of these assets, which of these do you think is most liquid? Out of these assets, right? Which of these do you think is most liquid? Yeah, checks, right? Now exactly, now when I've changed this, so it would be cash, then bank account and checks are almost equally liquid, right? Then comes in shares, right? Because again, for shares you can just sell those off and get the money transferred in the bank account. And the least liquid would be the car and the house, because it takes some time, right? You can't easily, sell some part of the car and buy something that you need, right? Similarly, you can't easily sell a part of the house and buy something, right? So that is, these two assets are less liquid and the other assets are relatively more liquid. So that is what you're confusing with, right? So crypto would definitely be here somewhere. So crypto and shares nowadays, the way cryptocurrency is working, right? So that would be a financial asset, right? But that is still not money, not cash, not currency notes, right? Is it simple? Easy? Okay. Now, in the barter system, students, think about this. So history of money, we are talking about how humans discovered the modern form of money that we use nowadays. So it all started with the barter system, right? Exchanging goods and services for other goods and services, right? Now, in the early civilization, people used to obviously produce goods and services for other goods and services, for, just a second, for other goods and services. Okay. So what I was saying you over here, that humans have been producing goods and services since ever, right? Because obviously when very earliest humans came to this planet or whatever, right? They had to grow food, they had to, get the basic things that they needed, like clothes, houses, right? And so on and so forth. They even needed, what is that called? Weapons to hunt animals and whatever, right? Now, they didn't have any sophisticated commodity that they could have used for exchanging goods and services. So what they did, they just came up with a very simple and obvious idea that why don't I exchange goods and services that I have in surplus with goods, other goods that I need, right? So let's say if I, back in the day, if someone used to be a tailor, or if someone used to be, I don't know, a doctor or something, right? Whatever, right? So that person used to give away that product or service in exchange of other things that it did not have. So farmer would sell off its crop to take to buy clothes, or the farmer would sell off its, crops to buy a cow or something of the sort, right? So that is what the barter system was. But what happened over time, that the specialization started speeding up, and the pace of transactions was not, the process of conducting transactions was not very efficient. Why so? I'll tell you in a bit, right? Specialization started growing, right? We do know what specialization is. Do you know what specialization is, right? Zen and Zwan started increasing and so the need for the need for more transactions, right? Just give me a second. Okay, so just a second. Okay, right, it is very similar, obviously, but the way the questions are asked in the exam, they are quite difficult. When the production process is split into workers and each worker gets skilled with the work he do. Right, exactly, right? So, specialization is basically division of labor. Another word that we use for specialization is division of labor. When a big task or a big project is broken down into simpler or smaller tasks, and every person is just looking after one small task or one small activity within that bigger project, right? That is what specialization is. So what happened? Specialization started increasing, and so the need for more transactions. Think about this. Whenever there will be more specialization, obviously the need for transactions will increase. Why so? Because if I am a teacher, then I'm just a teacher. Just imagine someone being a teacher back in the day, right? So if I'm a teacher, I will just provide teaching services, but in exchange, obviously for my living, I need to have all the other products that humans need for their survival, like food, clothes, house, shoes, a haircut, right? All these different things, right? So I have to exchange my teaching services with other products that I don't have, right? Now, obviously, that is what I meant when I said when there was more specialization, the need for transactions also increased. But Adam Smith example pins one. What was his example, right? So this being said, the barter system was not very efficient. The barter system was not very efficient to facilitate more transactions, right? What were the challenges in that? Quickly, we have already done this in the last class, so we'll go over that. So we will define that as problems with barter system. So who can tell me what are some of the major challenges with the barter system, right? Problems with barter system. Students, can you tell me what are some major challenges with the barter system? Right, yeah. Challenges with barter system, right? So what are the problems? It's hard to decide exact price. Okay. Perishable, right? Okay, good, right? Okay, now think about it. Let's talk one by one. You both are correct, but let's start off with the most basic and the most fundamental. Divisibility issue is another major problem. Very good, very nice. Okay, now the first problem with the barter system, students, was double coincidence of wants, right? Now think about it. Just imagine this. Now when you go to shop, all you have to carry with you is appropriate amount of money. I repeat myself, whenever you are going out to buy something, you don't need to care about anything else, right? You have to just carry adequate amount of money, which is enough to buy that product, right? If I go to shop to buy a soft drink, I just need 50 rupees. If I'm going out to buy something like a bread, a dozen eggs, 200 rupees, 300 rupees, right? So depending upon the thing that I want to buy, I have to just carry the cash. And I know that in exchange of that cash, I can buy whatever I need, right? But this is not what happens in the barter system. In the barter system, you have to see obviously what you're buying and then find someone who is willing to accept what you are willing to offer. Are you getting me? That should be easy to understand. Let's say this is person A, this is person B, as I was giving you the example. So if the farmer has the wheat to offer, right? So person A is a farmer who grows wheat, right? But his child needs some help with education or something, right? And then person B is a teacher, and that person can obviously provide teaching services. But this transaction will not take place if the farmer doesn't need the teaching services. In this case, yes, if the farmer needs the teaching services and in exchange the teacher needs wheat, then obviously it's perfectly fine. So wheat can be provided by the farmer to the teacher, and the teacher can provide teaching services to the farmer's son, right? But in case the two people have different needs, this transaction will never go through, right? Right, exactly. Toys or something, right? Very good. So double coincidence of wants very simply means that a transaction will not take place until unless the buyer is willing to sell, until unless one person is willing to sell what the other person wants and vice versa, right? So the way we can define this is a transaction will only take place, will, sorry about that, will only take place if the two people are willing to sell what the other person needs. When and how is this different nowadays? When two people are willing to sell what the other person wants. How is this different in the modern economy? What the other person needs. Okay, let me explain you. Let me give you a little bit of hint. Okay. Now, students, think about this. I do go to a shop to buy something. If I offer someone cash, enough cash that like equivalent to the price of that product, that person will never refuse to make that transaction, because that person knows that when he goes and buys something from with that money, it will be possible. Are you following me, right? Are you following? Well, ready to accept cash. Why? Because they know that with that cash, they can buy whatever they need. Just go buy whatever you want with the money. Excellent. Very good. Perfect. Right. But that was not the case with the double coincidence of wants. You had to go looking for the person, as I was giving you the example, who needs teaching services. So if I, thank God I'm not a, we are not born in that primitive times, right? Because otherwise being a teacher or anything would have been a big challenge, because I would always be looking for someone who is ready to take teaching services and in exchange give me what I need. Now, all I have to do is to just, right? Students come to mega lecture, they pay in cash, and we accept that cash. And with that cash, when we make the payments to the teachers, teachers can buy whatever they want: food, clothes, shoes, paying the electricity bill, fuel, whatever, right? So that's a big challenge with that, with the barter system, right? So this being said, we'll move on and then we'll discuss other problems with the barter system. Another thing that Zan mentioned, that goods are perishable. Think about this. When you're exchanging goods and services for the goods and services, and every time you're using goods, goods are perishable, right? Now, simplest example of that could be, we were talking about a farmer right now, right? So if the farmer has some wheat exchange in exchange of which he wants to buy something else, right? Now the problem here is that he cannot stock wheat for a very long time. He cannot stock wheat for a very long time. Why? Because it is, right, because it will expire, perishable, right? Rotten over a period of time, it will be of no use. Excellent, right? Goods are perishable, right? Simplest explanation of this could be, goods cannot be stored for long. Goods cannot be stored for long. We know this, right? Okay, very good. Now, this being said, another problem that Zan mentioned, that goods are also not divisible, not the way that money is divisible. Or you can simply say goods are not divisible, right? How come goods are not divisible, right? Think about this. I'll tell you, Zohan, so what you said now, just a second, goods are not divisible. That exact price, you said, the first thing that you said, that it's difficult to determine the exact price. I mean, I do understand that what you mean by that, because there will be so many prices to determine. There will be so many prices to determine, but still durability. Yeah. So this point is kind of, kind of linked with non-durable, right? Okay. So what I'm trying to explain to you, Zohan, is that what you said, that it will be difficult to determine exact price. I'll come to that in a bit, right? After this. Okay. Now, goods are not divisible. What is that supposed to mean? Let's say that the exchange rate, like exchange, right? Exchange rate, I'm saying, right? That in the barter system, if the exchange rate in a country is one cow equals to two sheeps, right? Or two goats or whatever, right? And let's say there's a person who wants to buy one sheep. There's this person who wants to buy one sheep. So person A has one cow and person B has two sheep. Now person A only wants to buy one sheep. Now he can't divide the cow in two equal parts. Are you getting me? So all he can do is to just give this cow away to person B if he's ready to accept, and in exchange take the two sheep that B is willing to offer, right? Right, exactly, right? So that's the problem. Okay, now goods are not divisible. Another challenge now comes in, another problem with the barter system, right? So many prices or so many exchange rates to be remembered. So many, how should I frame this, right? Uh, right, just a second. Exchange rates have to be set. Just a second. Value of a product, this is a better wording, value of a product needs to be determined in terms of all other goods. Value of a product needs to be determined, value of a product needs to be determined in terms of all other products. What do I mean by that? Right? Determined in terms of all other products, right? Okay, think about this, students. Okay, probability, kind of. Have a look at this. Students, think about this. Nowadays, first let's understand what is happening, because that is our benchmark. How is that? How does that happen? If I say, how much is the price of 1 dozen of eggs, right? So you will always quote me in the same currency that we use in Pakistan, right? So 1 dozen eggs cost 200 rupees, 300 rupees, 500 rupees, whatever it is, right? Similarly, if I ask you, what is the price of a kg of apples? What is the price of one table? What is the price of one bottle of water? What is the price of one bottle of juice or milk or whatever, right? So every time you will just telling me in terms of the local currency that we use, right? So everything is valued in terms of this one commodity, one product, which is rupees, right? Our currency, right? But back in the day when you're using the barter system, right? Exactly. When you're using the barter system, it's very confusing, because there can be a situation where a person wants to exchange eggs with cow. Similarly, there can be a situation where a person is willing to exchange eggs with, let's say, sheeps. A person is willing to exchange eggs with wheat. Are you getting me? There are so many different exchange rates that you have to remember always, right? And then you even, obviously, I'm assuming that there would be, just like nowadays, there is margin for negotiation as well, right? So bargaining as well. So I mean, that would have made the life so much more complicated compared to what it is right now, right? Students, are you following me? So what is the exchange rate between eggs and cow? What is the exchange rate between eggs and sheep? What is the exchange rate between eggs and wheat? And obviously the list goes on. Then obviously you also need to have an exchange rate between sheep and cows. You also need to have an exchange rate between wheat and sheep, and so on and so forth. Students, are you following me or not? Right? This is making sense. So they're unlimited, as I would say. Value of one product need to be determined in terms of all other products, right? So many different exchange rates and values to be remembered which is not the case in the modern economy because everything is valued just in terms of local currency. How many of you are absolutely clear, right? And then another major problem that we just almost skipped, that goods are not portable, right? It's not very easy to carry goods along, right? So just imagine if you're going to a shop and you want to exchange your, let's say, furniture, or you want to exchange wheat or something of the sort, right? So you have to carry, or a cow or something of the sort, right? You have to carry such heavy products with you and go and make a transaction. Back in the day, even transportation was not that advanced, right? So people used to go by foot or through animals or whatever, right? Goods are not portable, right? So that's another problem with the goods are not portable. That there's another, this is another problem with the barter system, right? Any confusion so far? Oh, okay, yeah, probability. Yeah, that's what I was confused. Goods are not portable, right? Okay, right? Easy. Okay, good. So now what we have talked about so far. So we have talked about what money is, right? So any product, any commodity or instrument used as a medium exchange, like buying goods and services, and to settle debt or financial obligations, right? Okay. Then barter system was how humans, started off initially trading between each other, and that was simply exchanging goods and services for other goods and services, right? But then what happened, human civilization started specializing a lot. So if a person is good at something, he or she would just focus on that thing. Now, with specialization, the need for transactions improved. So you were expected to make more faster transaction, more efficient way of transactions. But that posed some problems. What were the problems? The problems here were the problems here were that firstly, there was double coincidence of wants, right? That the two persons should be willing to sell each other products that they need, which is not the case in case of money nowadays. Goods are perishable, goods cannot last for long, or you can say non-durable, right? Then some of the problems are that goods are not divisible. You can't break them down into smaller parts, right? Unlike money, right? Value of a product needs to be determined in terms of all other products, right? So if you're exchanging one product with another product, then you need to know its value, its exchange rate, right? And goods are not portable. You can't transfer goods easily from one place to another. Um, Right. So we can do, I think, more than MCQs, we can also do some MCQs, but Zohan, more than MCQs, it will be better to do some essay questions, right? Because essay questions are more tricky. But we should be ideally focusing on both. Okay. Now, this being said, now let's quickly move on. Over time, after the barter system, right, humans discovered gold and silver, right? In the world, like how it was happening, advancement was taking place and new discoveries were being made. So after the barter system, humans discovered gold and silver coins, right? Gold and silver, and obviously then they developed some coins out of that because they knew that gold and silver are valuable metals. Okay. Now, some problems were resolved from gold and silver coins. Some problems were resolved, right? But not completely. Let me explain you how. So the problem of double coincidence of wants, was this resolved or was it not? Who can tell me? So students, do you think that the problem of double coincidence of wants was resolved through gold and silver coins, or was that not resolved? Who can tell me? Yeah. Do you think it was resolved? It was. It was. Why? Because think about this. The idea is simple and easy. Now you don't need to exchange goods and services further. Goods and services for other goods and services. All you have to do, just like we do use money nowadays, all you have to do is to just give gold and silver coins to the other person and buy whatever you have to buy. Obviously, you have to give a certain amount depending upon the value of that product. But obviously, this problem was at least solved. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. This problem was also solved to a large extent, that goods are perishable, right? That problem was solved, right? Gold and silver coins can last forever. Divisibility was a little challenge. Divisibility, right? Okay. Divisibility was a challenge. Why so? Because think about this. Even if a gold and silver coin is, very less how will you create so let me put it like this. How will you create a coin made out of gold or silver, which has very little value? Are you getting me? Because the gold and silver itself is very valuable items, right? So, I mean, until unless you dilute it very much or you use very little gold, are you getting me? So that problem still stayed. Problem with gold and silver coins, right? So
सर मतलब उसमें कोई वैल्यू नहीं थी लाइक 100 रुपीज का है या 200 का नहीं बस सिर्फ गोल्ड या सिल्वर है
right, नहीं, you did not get my point. मैं आपको बताता हूँ उसके अंदर बेसिकली देखें गोल्ड और सिल्वर एक बहुत वैल्यूएबल आइटम्स है, राइट? उसको आप स्मॉलर डिनोमिनेशन क्या होता है, राइट? नाउ डेज इन मॉडर्न इकोनॉमी व्हाट यू डू इज 1 rupee, you have 1 rupee coin, you have 2 rupee coin, right? And that is not made out of any valuable item, right? वो प्लास्टिक भी होता है, कोई गोल्ड सिल्वर नहीं होता, राइट? तो उसके थ्रू आप बहुत छोटी वैल्यू की प्रोडक्ट्स खरीद सकते हैं, लाइक अ टॉफी और अ कैंडी और समथिंग ऑफ द सॉर्ट. सो व्हाट आई एम ट्राइंग टू से है कि गोल्ड और सिल्वर कॉइन्स की कितनी कम वैल्यू का आप आइटम बनाएंगे. आर यू गेटिंग मी? सो दैट वाज अ लिटिल प्रॉब्लम विद दैट. ठीक है, डिविजिबिलिटी, स्मॉलर डिनोमिनेशन के कॉइन्स बनाना गोल्ड और सिल्वर में से वाज अ बिग चैलेंज, राइट? राइट, सो limited divisibility. ये बात समझ में आई है जुहान? Did you get this? Right? So there was a limited divisibility. Why? Because the problem is that you can't have a less valuable item, right? Very good, perfect. Limited divisibility, right? Another problem that still stayed in the gold and silver coins, that was hard or difficult to transport, difficult to carry down. Just imagine. So now the money that we carry, right? So you can technically carry 5 lakh, 6 rupees, 6 lakh, 10 lakh rupees in your pocket in the form of a check, right? Right? Difficult to transport. But just imagine if you have to carry gold worth 5 lakh or 6 lakh, right? So that would obviously not easy to transport. And on top of that, it will be risky as well, right? The chances of, robbery or something of the sort is more likely to happen, right? Difficult to transport, right? So that was another challenge with that. ATM card, right? We can have millions, exactly, right? Debit and credit cards, very good, excellent, right? So that problem is also there. And then another problem that you should be thinking about, that not every country in the world has gold and silver. So what would that country do? Does that mean that it makes it coins out of bronze, or does that mean that the country would be using some other metal or something, right? Not every country. How many of you are getting this, right? Students, are you following me? Then not every country has gold and silver reserves, right? Gold and silver reserves. And one more challenge with that. There was one more challenge with this, and that challenge was it will import, yeah, but that will be very expensive for them. Yeah, technically they can. Very good, then. So technically they can import, Zohan, but again the problem is they will be spending millions of rupees, perhaps, or like whatever they will be giving in exchange. I mean, it's not worth it, right? Some countries would be getting their currency for free because they already have gold and silver coins, whereas other will be paying huge amount of resources to acquire that, right? And then another problem again, right, was that gold or silver have their own utility, like they have a purpose of their own, they have some value, so you can use them. So what I mean by that you can use them in other things, like gold is used to make jewelry, silver is sometimes perhaps used to make crockery, and things like that, right? So you're kind of wasting these metals on just making the currency, their own currency, as UK have pounds and US have dollars. No, that's the thing. Yeah. So that could have had happened. But if we are just thinking about having just only gold or silver coins, then that was a problem. Technically, they can make it out of any metal and then determine the exchange value for that. exchange rate value for that. That's a smart thing to say. Yeah, that's totally possible. But I'm just saying that if the entire world has adopted the standard of gold and silver coins, then some countries which don't have these metals, they will have a problem. And the last problem with that was gold and silver have other uses, and obviously wasting those precious metals on just making currency would have been a stupid thing to do. Right? Students, are you following me? Have other uses, right? And so just a second, using these metals for currency would have been, right? Would have been a stupid thing to do. Excuse me. Okay, so students, are you getting me? So let's try to wrap this up. Let's try to do a quick recap. Right, Zwan, you can share it right now, but I don't think I will be able to answer, but I can answer it in the um, uh, tomorrow's class. Yeah, share that. Okay, so students, what we have talked about right now, we have started the topic of money, which is part of our unit 1. And in this topic, we have to talk about what are the functions and characteristics, right? So we haven't moved to that part of, yet. But before that, obviously, it was important for us to understand exactly what the money is, how evolution of money took place in the world over time, and so on and so forth, right? So we know money is any commodity or instrument that is used as medium of exchange and to pay your debt, financial obligations, right? Now, humans started using the barter system, where the idea was very simple. You give your goods and services that you have in surplus and buy other goods and services that you want to consume, right? But obviously specialization started increasing in the world, and the number of transactions, the need for more transactions increased, and barter was not very efficient because of all these problems that we discussed over here, right? Double coincidence wants, goods are perishable, goods are not divisible, not portable, and the value of one product need to be determined in terms of all of the products, right? As I gave you example for that. Then humans discovered these metals, right? Gold and silver coins. So they started making their currency out of that. Now, again, some problems were resolved, but not all problems were solved. Firstly, it's difficult to transport because they are heavy items, right? They are not very divisible. You can't create bigger value and smaller value coins. Are you getting me? So you can't have a very big value gold coin. Then who will carry that? Are you getting me? So those were some of the challenges or problems, right? Not every country has gold and silver reserves. So if a country doesn't has gold or silver reserves, where will it get it from? If it gets from some other country, then it will be giving away some other resources, very valuable resources, which is putting that country at a disadvantage. And the last of all was gold and silver have other uses. And so just using these metals for currency would have been a stupid idea, right? Um, Around 3 billion. So by this, RBOP improved, the supply of dollar increased, and the demand of rupee increased, causing dollar to depreciate. Okay, so can you just copy this message and send me? I'll give you a detailed reply on the WhatsApp, right? So this link is just about to expire. Just copy and paste this on the WhatsApp, Zohan, and I'll give you a detailed response, right? Okay, so students, tomorrow we'll